The last delivery. It was nearly midnight and Jason, a DoorDash driver, was exhausted. He had one last delivery to make, a remote house at the edge of town. His phone's GPS guided him down a narrow, winding road surrounded by thick woods. The house was barely visible through the trees, its lights off except for a faint glow from an upstairs window. As Jason pulled up, he felt uneasy. "This place is creepy," he muttered to himself. But he shrugged it off, grabbed the food, and made his way to the door. He knocked once, no answer. He knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. Just as he was about to leave, the door creaked open slightly. Standing there was a tall, pale woman in an old, tattered dress. Her eyes were wide, and her hair was tangled as if she hadn't brushed it in days. DoorDash?" Jason said nervously, holding up the bag. The woman didn't speak. Instead, she reached out with a trembling hand and pointed behind Jason. He turned, confused. "Are you alone out here?" She whispered, her voice barely audible. Jason's heart raced. "Yeah, it's just me, why?" The woman's face twisted in fear. "You need to leave now." Jason felt a chill run down his spine. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. Heavy, slow footsteps crunching the gravel driveway. He turned again but saw nothing in the darkness. "Go," the woman hissed, slamming the door shut. Jason didn't wait to ask questions. He sprinted back to his car, the footsteps growing louder. He fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking, and finally started the engine, as if something or someone was chasing him. As he sped away, he glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a shadowy figure standing in the middle of the road, watching him as he drove into the night. He didn't take any more late-night deliveries after that. The wrong door. A high-rise building, late evening. Olivia, the delivery driver, early 30s, cautious and precise. The old tenant, a creepy, hunched man who shouldn't be there. Olivia arrives at a high-rise apartment building with a large food order. She enters the elevator, pushing the button for the 10th floor. As the doors close, an unsettling feeling washes over her. Olivia, to herself, "This place gives me the creeps." The elevator dings, but it stops at the wrong floor, 7th instead of 10th. Olivia steps out, confused, and starts walking down the hallway. Olivia, "Guess I'll just take the stairs." As she passes by one of the doors, she hears whispering behind it. Curious, she leans closer to listen. Old tenant from behind the door. "Come closer. I've been waiting for you." Olivia pulls back, startled. She hurries to the stairwell, but as she opens the door, she sees the same old tenant standing at the bottom of the stairs, grinning. "Old tenant, you took the wrong floor." Olivia panics and runs back to the elevator, repeatedly pressing the button as the tenant slowly walks toward her. Olivia whispering, "Come on, come on." The elevator finally opens and she jumps inside, pressing the button for the 10th floor. As the doors close, the old tenant is standing right outside, his smile wider than before. "Old tenant, see you soon." The door's shut, and Olivia leans against the wall, panting. She reaches the 10th floor, and as she steps out, her phone buzzes. It's a new delivery. To the 7th floor, the camera fades to black as Olivia stares at her phone in horror. No. A DoorDash horror anthology. Story 3, Double Order. A dark city apartment building late at night. Maya, the delivery driver, early 20s, upbeat but tired. Ethan, the first customer, disheveled, nervous. The doppelganger, a mysterious copy of Ethan, emotionless. Maya is in the lobby of an old apartment building, juggling 2 orders. She checks her phone to confirm the first delivery. Maya, to herself, apartment 302. "Here we go." She knocks on the door of apartment 302. Ethan opens it, looking frazzled. "Ethan, thanks for the food. I've been starving." Maya hands him the bag, but as she turns to leave, she gets a notification that another delivery has just been ordered. To the same apartment. Maya, weird. She knocks again. Ethan opens the door, confused. "Ethan, what are you doing back?" Maya, confused. "I just got a new order. Same address?" Suddenly, Ethan looks pale, his eyes darting nervously. He whispers, "Ethan, that's not me." "Don't answer it." Maya, "What do you mean?" A second knock comes from behind. Maya. She turns around to see another. Ethan standing there, staring blankly at them both. The doppelganger. "My food." Maya looks between the 2 Ethans, paralyzed by fear. The real Ethan grabs her arm and pulls her inside his apartment, slamming the door. Ethan, and whispering frantically, "Don't let him in. He's not real." Maya hears the doppelganger outside, knocking insistently. The camera zooms in on the door as the knocking grows louder and more frantic. The doppelganger, from outside, "Let me in." "It's my order." The scene ends with Maya and Ethan huddled inside the apartment as the knocking continues. The wrong door. Conclusion. Late evening, inside a high-rise building. The camera follows Olivia, a delivery driver, walking down the 10th floor hallway. Olivia's, "I had one last delivery to the 7th floor, but something felt wrong." Olivia checks her phone. A delivery notification shows the same address and customer as before. Her heart races. She hesitates at the stairwell. Olivia, to herself. No, not again. She turns, but suddenly hears a faint whisper. Old tenant whispering, "I told you. I've been waiting." Olivia freezes. Her phone vibrates again. She checks it. A message reads, "Don't run, he sees you." She backs away toward the elevator. The elevator dings. The doors open, revealing the old tenant, staring at her with cold eyes. Old tenant smiling. "Going down?" Olivia panics and bolts down the hallway. The tenant follows, his footsteps echoing behind her. Old tenant menacingly. "There's nowhere to go, Olivia." She reaches a locked stairwell door, frantically pulling on it. Olivia screaming. "Why are you doing this?" Old tenant. "You took the wrong door. Now you're mine." The lights flicker out, plunging her into darkness. Olivia uses her phone's faint light, her breath shallow. Olivia whispering, "Please, no." Suddenly the lights return. The old tenant is gone. Olivia runs to the elevator and hits the lobby button. The doors close, but the elevator stops at the 7th floor. The hallway is dim and silent. A faint child's voice echoes. Voice faintly, "Olivia, help me." Olivia steps out, trapped on the 7th floor. The lights flicker as she moves toward the end of the hall, where the door creaks open, revealing only darkness. Olivia whispering, "No, this can't be happening." Suddenly a cold hand grabs her wrist, pulling her into the darkness. Olivia screams as the door slams shut. See the lobby. The security guard looks at a monitor showing the empty 7th floor hallway. Guard muttering, "Must be a glitch." The camera zooms in on the sealed door, silent and still. Some doors should never be opened. The follow home. Late at night, inside a car. Lena, the delivery driver, talks to the camera while driving. Lena talking to the camera. "So, I just dropped off a DoorDash order at this really creepy house. No contact delivery. But as I was walking back to my car, I saw this guy, just standing there in the shadows. Thought nothing of it. Until now." Lena glances nervously at the rearview mirror. The camera focuses on the reflection of headlights behind her. Lena, voice shaking. "Okay, so I've been driving for like 10 minutes, and this car has been following me the whole time. Every turn I make, they follow. This is getting weird." Cut to Lena on the phone with her roommate, Sarah. Lena whispering into the phone. "Sarah, someone's following me. I'm freaking out. I don't want to drive home." "Sarah," voice on the phone. "Go to the gas station by the highway. I'll meet you there. Don't stop anywhere else." Lena pulls into a gas station. She looks around, but the car that was following her is gone. Lena talking to the camera again, still shaky. "I swear they were just behind me. But now they're gone. Just like that." Sarah pulls up in her car, running over to Lena. "Lara, are you okay? Where did they go?" Lena shaking her head. "I don't know. They just disappeared. It's like they were never there." The camera pans to the empty road, then back to Lena's worried face. Lena to the camera. "That was the weirdest thing. And it never happened again." The video ends abruptly, cutting to black. Sometimes you never know who's watching. The blackout at the office building. A dark, empty office building. 3 characters: Olivia, delivery driver; Jason, office worker, and a shadowy figure. Olivia arrives at a large, dimly lit office building for a late-night delivery. Jason, the only person left in the office, buzzes her in. She rides the elevator to the 10th floor. But as soon as she steps out, the lights flicker and then go out. She fumbles for her phone flashlight. Jason calls out from his office, "Just leave the food at the door." Suddenly, footsteps echo in the dark. Olivia spins around, shining her light down the empty hall. There's a shadowy figure moving toward her. She calls Jason, panicked, but he says he's locked in his office. As the figure nears, the lights flicker back on, and no one's there. Graveyard shift. A desolate graveyard. 2 characters, Emily, delivery driver, and Mark, graveyard employee. Emily pulls up to a graveyard at dusk, there to deliver food to Mark, the graveyard's night shift caretaker. As soon as she texts to say she's arrived, Mark replies, "Meet me at the mausoleum." Drop the food at the door. Confused, Emily walks to the mausoleum. As she approaches, another text comes through. "Don't turn around." Emily's heart races. She freezes, feeling a presence behind her. She doesn't move, trembling with fear. Another text arrives. "Good, now leave." Emily drops the food and runs, never looking back. The Vanishing Apartment. A rundown apartment complex. 2 characters, Sarah, delivery driver, and Mia, customer. Sarah delivers to an old, dilapidated apartment building late at night. The order is for apartment 13B, but when she arrives, the door is slightly ajar. She knocks but hears nothing. She leaves the food and walks away, only to get a call from Mia asking where her food is. Confused, Sarah returns to the door, but apartment 13B no longer exists. The door has vanished, replaced by a solid brick wall. The empty house. A suburban house. 2 characters, Jack, delivery driver, and Mr. Black, customer. Jack delivers to a house in a quiet suburban neighborhood. As he approaches, he notices all the windows are dark, and the house seems abandoned. He knocks but gets no answer, so he calls Mr. Black. A raspy voice answers, "Leave it by the front door." As Jack sets the food down, he glances inside and sees a figure in the shadows watching him. He rushes back to his car and drives away. Later, he checks the app to see a review from Mr. Black. "Thanks for the delivery. I was watching you." The Silent Forest. A house deep in the woods. 2 characters, Katie, delivery driver, and an unseen customer. Katie drives deep into the woods for a delivery, but when she arrives, the house is barely visible through the trees. There's no signal, so she knocks on the door, but no one answers. She leaves the food on the porch and starts to walk back to her car when she hears footsteps crunching behind her. She turns, but no one's there. The footsteps continue, following her all the way to her car. She jumps in and speeds away, glancing back to see a shadow moving through the trees. Story with the basement drop-off. An old mansion. 2 characters, Tom, delivery driver, and a mysterious figure. Tom gets an unusual delivery request. Leave it in the basement. The house is huge and creepy, and when he knocks, a voice from inside yells, "Just come in and leave it downstairs." Hesitant, Tom enters and finds the basement door ajar. As he steps down the creaky stairs, the lights go out, and he hears the door slam behind him. In the pitch dark, he feels a cold hand brush against his arm. He drops the food and bolts back up the stairs, never looking back. Story 12, The Hotel Room. A rundown motel. 2 characters, Mike, delivery driver, and Claire, customer. Mike delivers to a rundown motel. The customer, Claire, asks him to bring the food up to room 23. When he knocks on the door, he hears whispering, but no one answers. After a while, the door creaks open, revealing an empty room with the TV on static. He sets the food down and quickly leaves. As he reaches his car, he gets a text from Claire. "Thanks for the delivery, but I'm not in the motel anymore." Story 13, The Dollhouse. An eerie suburban home. 2 characters, Anna, delivery driver, and Mrs. Fenton, customer. Anna delivers to a small house in a quiet neighborhood. Mrs. Fenton, the customer, asks her to leave the food on the porch, but as Anna steps up to the house, she notices a creepy collection of old dolls staring at her from the windows. Suddenly, the dolls' heads turn in unison, following her movements. Panicking, Anna drops the food and runs back to her car. From her rearview mirror, she sees Mrs. Fenton waving at her from the window, holding one of the dolls. Story 14, The Farmhouse. An isolated farmhouse. 2 characters, Liam, delivery driver, and the farmer, customer. Liam delivers to a farmhouse far from the city. The place is eerie, with animals making strange noises in the distance. When he knocks, the farmer opens the door and says, "Follow me. I'll show you where to leave it." Liam follows him to a barn at the back of the property. But when they reach the door, the farmer suddenly vanishes. Liam hears the barn door creak open and sees something move inside. He drops the food and runs back to his car, hearing heavy footsteps behind him. 3:15, the locked gate. A gated mansion. 2 characters, Jasmine, delivery driver, and a mysterious customer. Jasmine arrives at a gated mansion and calls the customer, who says, "The gate's broken. Just climb over." Reluctantly, she scales the gate and leaves the food by the front door. As she's leaving, she hears the gate lock behind her. She tries to climb back over but finds the gate too high on the return. Then she hears soft footsteps approaching from the mansion, followed by a low whisper, "You shouldn't have come in." She sprints to the back of the house. Finding an old servant's gate she can barely squeeze through. Story 17, the haunted bridge. A small town with an old bridge. 2 characters, Chris, delivery driver, and Greg, customer. Chris delivers to a house near an old, supposedly haunted bridge. As he drives over it, his car suddenly stalls. He steps out, but his phone has no signal. Suddenly, a figure appears at the other end of the bridge, slowly walking toward him. Panicking, Chris gets back in his car, but it won't start. The figure gets closer, and Chris frantically tries the ignition. Just as the figure reaches his window, the car roars to life and he speeds away. Story 18, the abandoned warehouse. A delivery to an empty warehouse. 2 characters, Eve, delivery driver, and a strange customer. Eve gets an order to deliver to a warehouse that looks abandoned. When she arrives, there's no one there. She calls the customer and a voice answers, "I'm inside. Just leave it at the entrance." Eve places the food down but hears rustling from the shadows. A figure steps out, but as the lights flicker, the figure disappears. Eve doesn't wait. She runs to her car and speeds off. Later, she checks the delivery address, but the warehouse doesn't exist. Story 19, the lake house. A remote lake house. 2 characters, Brian, delivery driver, and a mysterious woman. Brian delivers to a house by a lake, but when he knocks, no one answers. He calls the customer, but all he hears is static. As he turns to leave, he sees a woman standing by the lake, staring at him. She waves him over, but as he approaches, she vanishes into the fog. When Brian returns to the house, the door is open, and the food he left is gone. Story 20, the old hospital. A creepy abandoned hospital. 2 characters, Jenna, delivery driver, and an unseen customer. Jenna delivers to an old hospital under renovation. The customer instructs her to leave the food in room 302. She hesitates but complies, walking through the dimly lit halls. When she reaches the room, it's completely empty. As she sets the food down, the door slams shut. Jenna runs out, but as she looks back, she sees a figure standing in the window of room 302, watching her leave. A terrifying DoorDash delivery in North Scottsdale. Shanail, a DoorDash driver, tired but determined. It's 11:45 p.m., and she's driving through the quiet, dimly lit roads of North Scottsdale. The road signs warn of wild animals crossing, which makes her a bit uneasy, but she brushes it off. As she looks at the GPS on her phone, it indicates a remote address nestled deep in the mountains, with a delivery time of 12 a.m. Shanail checks the time. "I've got to get there fast if I want to finish this delivery and head home." As she drives deeper into the mountains, the roads become more isolated. The streetlights are scarce, and Shanail's phone starts to lose signal. The GPS becomes spotty. She curses under her breath and drives a little faster, hoping to make it before her phone loses all reception. Suddenly, her car jerks. A warning light flashes on the dashboard, and the vehicle sputters to a halt. Shanail pulls over to the side of the road, right beneath a sign that reads, "Caution animal crossing next 10 miles. She checks her phone. The signal is barely holding and she's getting nervous. Shanail steps out of the car, looking around. The air is eerily quiet, and the only sounds are her footsteps on the gravel. She pops the hood of her car, but realizes she has no idea what she's looking at. Frustrated and a bit anxious, she grabs her phone to call for roadside assistance. The phone struggles to connect, and just as she starts to talk to someone, the call drops. "Great," she mutters. "Just what I need." As Shanail paces next to her car, debating what to do, she hears a faint rustling sound from the nearby brush. She freezes, turning slowly toward the noise. Her eyes scan the darkness, but she sees nothing. The rustling gets louder, and now it's clear that something or someone is moving. Her heart starts to race. Shanail pulls out her phone and turns on the flashlight, shining it into the bushes. Suddenly, a pair of glowing eyes reflect the light back at her. Shonile gasps, stumbling backward. What the... The eyes disappear just as quickly as they appeared. There's silence again. She tries to calm herself, thinking it was probably just an animal. Maybe a coyote or a mountain lion, common in the area. But something feels off. Janelle gets back into her car and locks the doors, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Her phone has no signal at this point. She looks around, trying to stay alert. Out of nowhere, she hears a loud thud against the back of her car, followed by a low growl. Shanile's eyes widen, and she turns around, looking through the rear window. There it is, a massive, unknown animal with long limbs, sharp claws, and dark fur standing just outside the car. It's too large to be any coyote or mountain lion she's ever seen. The animal sniffs around her car, pacing back and forth as if searching for a way in. Shonile's breath quickens, and she stays perfectly still, hoping the creature will leave, but it doesn't. It scratches at the door, and for a moment she fears it will break the window. Just as she's about to panic, the animal suddenly retreats, disappearing back into the brush as quickly as it appeared. Shonile waits a few minutes, trying to gather her courage. She knows she can't stay here all night. She decides to get out of the car and make a run for it, hoping to find higher ground for a signal. As quietly as possible, she exits the car and starts walking up the road, her phone in hand, occasionally checking for bars. After a few tense minutes, she finally gets a weak signal and dials for help. The sound of an approaching vehicle catches her attention, and headlights come into view. It's a local ranger patrolling the area. Relieved, Shonile waves him down and explains her situation. The ranger listens carefully and responds, "You're lucky. There's been reports of some unknown creature out here lately, scaring people. We've been trying to track it, but no one knows what it is yet." Shonile, exhausted but safe, gets a ride back to town, swearing to never take a late-night delivery in the mountains again. As she finally arrives home, Shonile sits on her couch, still shaken but grateful. She checks her phone one last time and receives a message from DoorDash, "Delivery incomplete." She rolls her eyes and mutters, "Never again." Shonile looks out of her window into the quiet night, wondering if she'll ever truly forget the eyes she saw in the dark. End of story.